Hello everyone, we're going to jump in right on time. I believe the clock now says 11:59, so right on time should be just about when I finish introducing myself. I'm John MacDonald. I'm the current Ontario chapter president. I've been here before. It's a nice role. It's good to be involved and to be there to know what's going on and what's changing in our industry. And today, what you're dialed into or however you've connected, we're going to cover some information on the first town hall. The idea will be, first of all, I'd like to ask everyone to mute their phone. Right now we don't have any feedback issues, but we're hoping that we get a lot of people sign in, log in, and along the way we just want to make sure we don't have technical issues with the audio. Next, we'd like to make sure that member companies also get this information, so make sure that somehow, one way or another, it's going to go to companies. We plan to post it so that everybody can get there. And if you're a technician or a company owner and you need to stay in touch with what's going on with the Ontario chapter, connect with us on LinkedIn. So just on LinkedIn, type in Ontario CFAA, go in, join. It's a group right now, it's just over 400 members. We've got some fire inspectors, people who are interested in the industry right across the board. What we have not done, or what we've been careful to make sure we don't do, is we don't have people like real estate and different trades in there. It's not for that. It's just for information to get out. It's easy for us to post information that then we can share with everybody. The plan today will be to jump through about 15 minutes of slides. The slides are actually a little bit more comprehensive than what I'm going to talk about. So some of the slides we'll go over a little quickly. As we go through the slides, though, know that they'll be there, they'll be posted, and if you need to go back to them, you can always go back. So the idea will be to go through about 15 minutes of slides and then quickly get to questions. So hopefully you have ways, and I have Steve Clements from head office here, the executive director, and he'll be reading anything that gets texted in or comes up from the computer, and we should be able to get through about 15 minutes of slides and leave. The plan will be to leave about 15 minutes for questions. All right, so first of all, today what we're going to cover is what are the benefits of this new registration program, and then of course what's new, and then what we can all do to help and to make this go forward. First of all, I guess why? So why did we have to do this? Ultimately, it's not a matter of have to, it's a responsible response to what was going on. We had concerns from the fire marshal's office. We had fire inspection. You know, the fire inspectors that are in the field are looking to us to make sure that we're that first response when it comes to what's in the building. Yes, you know, fire inspectors can't be everywhere, and perhaps maybe they can only visit every 5 years, but in the field we have technicians who are looking at and going through these systems every single year. So it makes sense that we know what we're doing. And then one of the other concerns that we're dealing with are that, well, companies are always looking for technicians that are qualified and trained. As far as the fire marshal's program went, they were looking at our program, and as far back as 2010, it's been under review, and then around 2012, so 4 years ago, we started to look at what needed to be done to address the whole program and to answer all of these concerns. So that's where we are, and as we move forward, there have also been changes that we're not going to get too deeply into today about what it means to become a technician, what you have to do to become a technician. Again, it's in the slides, but we're going to focus on technician renewal today, because there have been lots of questions since December 2015. We got our letter from the fire marshal actually approving the program and requiring ongoing education. Ongoing education, as we all know, is a very important thing because codes are changing. Building ULC and fire codes are all sort of in flux and changing along the way, and we need to stay in touch with those so that we absolutely stay there or can address anything coming up. Again, this is the new program. I'm just going to jump over it. A new card will likely come out, and in particular, the date down at the bottom for renewal will be updated, and this is what we're going to focus on today, the education program. And mostly we have technicians who don't understand what it means, especially when we come to dates, because there are different scenarios which I'm going to go through. But as we go through those scenarios, just collect your questions and we'll answer some at the end. And hopefully, if we cover it comprehensively enough, we'll be answering some other, real questions along the way that won't necessarily need to be covered twice. However, when a technician renews, and not figuring dates into this program at all right now, when everything is up and running and we've got it rolling, a technician needs to have 8 hours of training or 8 continuing education credits per year. I'm trying to go through this pretty quick. All right, so to make it simple, technicians who renew after January 1, 2017 will require proof of that education. There are some technicians now who can renew who haven't, mostly maybe because they were confused about what they needed or didn't need. If you renew as of today, you don't need those 8 credits. However, if you have to register after January, then you need to have 8 credits. Now, those 8 credits, there's a few scenarios that we're still going to play through, and there are even some people who can take a shortcut. But it depends on you. It depends on the technician looking at the timeline, being reactive, and not waiting until after January. Because before I go off this slide, I'll say it one more time. If you renew after January 1st, 2017, sorry, I guess that would be December 31st, but if you renew after that point, you will require the education credits. So scenario 1 are for the people who their registration ends before December 31st, 2016, and they will not need any. It's sort of reiterating exactly what we said before. However, the dates are really important. December 31, 2016. Now, in scenario 2, as you may or may not know, the CFAA head office sends you out a notice as a technician 90 days before your registration comes up, which means that for technicians who register where their renewal comes up January 2017 through March 31st, they'll get their notice before that, and in fact before December 31st, 2016. Once they get their notice, they can renew, and then the old system applies, meaning that if, for instance, your registration comes up in February and you act on it before January, you will actually be able to go through, take the shortcut, and not require the education credits. And this won't happen over and over, just the first time through until everything is rolled out. So hopefully that's clear. Third scenario, if your registration ends, where are we? That's the same one, right? Same.
No,
oh, sorry. Yes, if you register, but that should say March, not December. Right?
no, this is
Okay, all right. So in scenario 3, if your registration expires and you wish to renew, oh, I get it, okay, and you don't get in before January, then of course you need your 8 credits. And hopefully, if it goes from January to March, you've taken advantage of the fact that you can do it early and then you don't need those credits. Come on. Okay. And then of course for the people who renew normally after that, or sorry, in 2018, the only tricky thing then, or thing that has been raising questions, is what happens if I have a 2-year registration? Well, of course, you'll still need 8 per year, and in fact, you'll need 16. So, when, look on your card, see what your date is, use that date to figure yourself through this scenario. Usually, it's not that difficult. In our small company, most of our guys actually were able to take the shortcut, or they came up early, and it's been good for us, but really we do ongoing training anyways, and I hope in a responsible industry where we all need to really know what we're doing. Fire prevention officers everywhere are counting on us. I hope we're all doing training anyways. It's not just about the credits for renewal. Training helps, period. So how do I get that? Well, that's where the question has really started to come, because we have technicians who are thinking about getting these education credits, and as they start to consider where they're going to get them, there are lots of options, and sometimes maybe we give them too many options, but ultimately it works like this. There are some that you're going to have to get directly from the CFAA, like today, or like some sessions that we're running this morning. If they come from the CFAA and they're presented by an instructor from the CFAA, and you can prove you were there, and so we're looking for proof that you're there and what was done that day and some other things, then you get those 2 points. And we will work through a chart in a second, so that's one place. Another place is through the CFAA lectures, seminars, and symposiums, and in some cases you don't need to do an exam for those. So usually the way it works is if there's an exam, you get more credit per hour, and if you wanted to do it without exams, you'll get less credit. And so perhaps then, if we wanted to think about it that way, that might be another way. If you are shy of exams or you want to just cover the material, you just have to go to more, not just 8 hours, which is usually the way these ones work. You get an hour per credit. But as you work through those, if you don't have a test, you'll only get a certain amount or less than 1 point per hour. And then, of course, manufacturers and vendors can also put up training, and manufacturers and vendors are always providing some kind of training on their new products, or they have training for their employees even, which we'll handle in the next session or next section here. But if manufacturers and vendors are putting up training, you can use that training. Again, I think you probably need some proof that you took that training, some way to show that you did it. And just take a drink of water. And then, of course, yes, it's about the proof, but it's also about making sure you get that information. And frankly, that's part of why the test, I believe, is actually a better way, and so we'll work through that. The other thing is there are some people starting to consider and put up some other training, whether they be on fire safety plans or whatever the training is. It has to fit the chart of what you require to become a technician. Now, there are some other training, things like fall protection, things like, what's another one? Electrical safety. The electrical safety, where those training also can apply to that. Again, check with head office. Don't wait till the last minute when you're doing all of this. You might find out you need just one more training, and maybe it wouldn't be such a big deal to pick that up somewhere. As this engine that's providing training starts to go, certainly we're doing seminars, we're doing the symposiums. The Ontario chapter is looking to do more lectures throughout the GTA. There will be more opportunities, and also some will come online. And in this case, like now, they should be kept short, easy, so that technicians can be part of it. You record it and just pick up some information, because although, yes, the credits are there for renewals, it's important that people learn this information. And then the final thing is through colleges. So if you have courses, I recall quite some time ago now that the engineers group from U of T put on training for retrofit, and that would be one of those trainings that would absolutely apply to that in category number 5. So we'll go through this in a little bit more detail, but this chart is put up on the website, and category 1 is the only one that's a minimum, and you have to get at least 2 points directly from CFAA. And as we work down through the rest of the chart, hopefully the chart is self-explanatory, and I have just about 2 minutes, so I'm going to slide through this a little quicker. The CFAA lectures and seminars we've talked about, boom, 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 boom. Okay, so everything else is there. Pay close attention to the minimum category requirement, maximum category requirement. and then in category, in column number 2, look at whether it requires a test. Because if it requires a test, let's be clear about this. Our job is kind of, well, I've made a parallel to like an airline pilot. If something goes wrong, we haven't covered something, something bad can happen. And that we don't want that to happen, obviously. But imagine that we only have to get 80% to pass. Now imagine that you're flying in a plane from Toronto to Vancouver, and the plane comes in, and then you learn that the pilot only lands 80% of the time. 80% of the time when we're saving lives just is not enough. However, that's what our fire marshal has required us to be able to do on our tests. So 80% is a pass, and also know that in previous tests we've gone a little further than content in the day. That may not go forward exactly like that, but there are certain things that we want to make sure people know. And all that equipment, all that information that you've learned about before is fair game. That should be fair game, because as you're walking down the hall doing an inspection, you need to have that information top of head. Slides are not going, and I think I'm going to be able to slide through these pretty quick now. So these are up, and you'll be able to look at those. Again, we've put together the details, made it a little bigger so that you can share it around the office, and make sure that you've got it. This is the submission form. This is handwritten. There's probably going to be, in the ones that we've submitted already, we were asked for an agenda, so we put together an agenda and some form of attendance for the day from the instructor. That way, if you're doing in-house training, you can make it count. And there's the chart, and we've got some questions, and if you want to answer or ask questions, now would be the time. Any questions there?
So if anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, feel free. Or text it in.
Yeah, hi, this is Art. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, Art. Okay,
so this all seems to be based on future and after 2017 in terms of the credits.
Correct.
I attended a recent seminar, and it was brought up or spoke to credits that have been accumulated at this point.
Right.
What happens to those?
As far as I know, we have some ability, particularly now that it's just being rolled out, to use some of those credits, and I haven't got an official answer on May the 18th, and if that's probably what you're talking about, would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's it, John.
Yeah, so if what we'll do is we'll get a permanent or a more concrete answer on May the 18th, and then we'll post it with this as part of the questions.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
The simple answer is if you have a renewal in 2017 or 2018, anything in 2016 will count.
Sounds good to me. Thank you. We can, as we move forward, it'll be a conversation that I'll have with you guys directly anyway, and we can verify.
Absolutely. Good.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Or comments.
That's right, or comments. I have some slides where we can talk a little bit about other programs or other things that have changed in the program, and a couple of them have a visual. I don't know how many people are using computers, but I can put up a visual and show you some other things. Certainly we want to use our time well, so if you have questions, please feel free to just jump in and ask questions. Anybody else? Or comments even?
I have another thought here.
Sure.
So I know that the courses, the current courses are, I believe the pass mark is 60%, the CFAA courses.
Correct.
Is that okay? Are there thoughts of increasing that to 80 as a to kind of go along with what the fire marshal is requesting here?
Absolutely. And that comes to the changes in the program in particular. 60% is good enough perhaps when you're learning and going through the manuals, but of course the program as it sits today doesn't include other technicians signing you off. The new technicians who are coming out of this program are going in and want to become a fully registered technician actually have to come and do a practical and a theory test here. Or it
Got it.
doesn't have to be right here, but that, if I'm going to look at Steve, and he can nod, requires an 80%. So again, I remember in the early discussions with the fire marshal's office, they wanted even those exams to be recorded total in their entirety. So they're very serious about making us the sharp edge of the sword and getting us to be the front line of this protection system. So they are really, really concerned, and they want to make sure that we get the appropriate training.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Those are my thoughts and comments and questions.
Okay. Anybody else?
John, can you
Yes.
hear me?
And who is it?
Brian Bove.
Okay.
I did working at heights and fundamentals of fall protection in July of 2016, but it doesn't, it was an 8-hour course. How do I prove that it was 8 hours?
It was what kind of a course?
Working at heights.
Yeah, no, the course I think would be covered for sure, but your question is more about the amount of time, correct?
Yes, yes, it should count for 2 credits for me. And what would I do? Like, all I got is a little card that I guess I could scan and email to Jackie or Ruth, but...
Yes.
Well, that should be,
How long
part
did
of the submittal form.
How long did it really take, Brian?
It was a full day course,
So it was 8 hours.
yes.
Okay. Would they give him full credit for that?
Yeah, let me just pull up this. So looking at the...
Are you able to see this, Brian?
Yes, I can see it, yes.
So that would be category 5 because there was a test for that course, correct?
Yes, correct.
So that would be 1 credit per hour. So you would actually be able to get 4 credits on a 1-year renewal. Or if you don't renew until 2018, you could use it for all 8 credits under category.
No, I actually, my card is, I think it comes up for renewal in June of 17, I believe.
Okay.
So what I'm asking is, can I just kind of scan this in to Ruth or Jackie, like their certificate? Just a little square card.
So if you look under required documentation, when you're filling this out, you're going to fill out the form. Okay, so that would be just like the last one there I filled out. So category 5, the date you took it, the title,
okay.
And then you're going to include the certificate, outline, and the schedule. So the date, not only did you get that, but you were invited to go, and that even that invitation from the instructor would be the schedule that you're going to have to attend for 6 hours, 8 hours, and that would be part of the submission that you would attach to the continuing education credit form for your 8 or 16 credits. So we don't need to have it come in one little bit at a time. We're looking for it to come in upon renewal.
Okay, so this form, though, I can download it from the website?
That's correct.
Correct.
Yeah, and I forgot you went through pretty quick. Does this, today, does it count for a credit?
Yeah, so this would be category 2.
Yes.
No test. We're having a CFA lecture. Any involvement with the CFA basically falls under category 2.
Yeah, and how many credits for today?
So again, if we look at category 2, we're looking at half credit per hour. So we're probably going to be a 1-hour session today. So this would be worth half a credit under category 2.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
And again,
So I've got a good start on this.
yeah,
That's...
you have to provide a certificate of or proof of attendance. Just so you know, we will send you out a certificate, but you won't have to submit that because we have it on our file as well. So it's already, if anything coming from the CFA, there's going to be a copy of it on your file already. We're still working so that when you log into my account on CFA.ca, that you'll be able to see how many credits you've actually accumulated from the CFA prior to your submission being required.
Okay, now you answered my questions. Thank you.
Awesome.
Guys, I just want to say you're making this easy, okay?
Thank you. Who am I speaking to?
It's Art.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making this easy, so good job on you guys.
Oh, good. And how's this format working for you?
It's fine. Like, I'm very used to this technology. I've lived in the corporate world for more than 20 years, so this was day to day. So this simple, as you say, a technician can easily take half an hour or whatever it is based on the time of day that you're doing this, and it's simple. So good job.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments? I'm going to move forward. This is not about renewals. We're going to show a little bit of, if I can get to the end. This is the slide or the website and what it looks like to get into the theory exam. To be honest, I haven't had to go in to do the theory exam, and maybe most of us won't either. But the question will always come up from brand new people that we're bringing into the industry. And frankly, I think that's really where we're going with this. We need to be able to bring people in a consistent manner, get them trained in a consistent manner, and then be able to verify that they actually know what we're training them in. And we would never run a control system without some kind of feedback. And the feedback in this case is the technician runs through a theory exam. It'll be similar to what we already have. And when we originally were setting this up, we were looking at technician certification. So one day that might happen. But so just to back up the bus a little bit, what happens or what can happen for a new person coming in now is they work themselves through the books. They then become a trainee, and then we provide them with the technician's journal. And if they want to work through that, they can keep going through, and it gives them reminders of how much time they should spend learning something, and then it has a place that somebody can sign off. That's not really required from the CFAA to require or say, yes, the person can go and write the exam. They can go write the exam whenever they want. However, it does give them a sense for, do they know the appropriate material? And for the most part, this is about really knowing it. When we set this up quite some time ago, we were looking for a way to say, we want to know if somebody's been out in the field and really working, so that then they can demonstrate that they know. And that's really the next slide. And the next slide isn't coming up for me. There we go. Comes up. This is a picture, and I hope I'm not sort of sharing things out of school, but this is a fire alarm system. And during the practical exam, they're given this system to work on and to really interact with, so that an adjudicator, or is that the right word we use? Invigilator can really evaluate whether the person understands what they're doing. But at this point, we're not talking about learning anymore. We're talking about knowing whether the person really knows their stuff. And that's where then, coming out of here, you need to have an 80% pass to be then a final and full technician. Questions about that? I'll leave that there.
I just want to make one point too. So for these new technicians, the new requirement that's never been required before is they must now, before they can go any further in the process, become a registered fire alarm trainee. They cannot enter the theory exam or purchase the theory exam, take the theory exam without first being a registered trainee, for two reasons. One, we want to get a level of experience of those that are taking the theory exam. Yes, there's still a lot in our marketplace that have been working on fire alarms for many years. They may jump right to the theory exam. But on the other token, we want to be able to kind of encourage people to still take that 1,500 hours of work experience before they try and enter and attempt the theory and or practical exam. And it has to go in that order. So registered as a trainee, then they can apply and register to take the theory exam, which is a 3-hour online exam. Then when they're successful, they can then register and take the practical exam, and it's a 2-hour in-person exam, and we will be offering it nationwide.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, what are the retakes if someone's not successful? Like, is there a wait time on that, or like a 30-day, 60-day, and then do a retake?
Yes, So again, it increases every time. So on the theory exam, first failure, there's a 30-day waiting period. Second failure, 60-day, just like you mentioned, and it keeps going up by 30 days after every failure. For the registration practical exam, there is a waiting period of 30 days, but then if you fail it twice, there's a 1-year waiting period. So
Got it.
that's the big kicker on the practical exam, is that if you are not successful on your second attempt, you then must do two things: wait a year, and after that year, be able to submit to us a completed logbook before we will allow you to take the practical exam. So we need a completed logbook signed off by a supervisor that you have achieved 1,500 hours of experience.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? It's exactly 12:30. You want to sign off?
It's up to the participants.
Gentlemen, any ladies? I didn't check.
Jackie.
Jackie?
Yeah.
Lady and gentlemen, if you're okay, we're all done. We've pulled this in right on time at 12:30. And I know I spoke quickly. Just a reminder, we will be posting this. We'll collect your questions. With your permission, I'd like to include your audio. Do I have your permission, Art?
Sure.
And Brian? You still there, Brian? Okay.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, great. All right. So I think then we're right at 12:30. Gentlemen, if there's nothing else, is there something?
I just wanted to point out, if you have questions, please send them to the office. And John's email is ontario@cfa.ca.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.